The phone buzzed against the marble kitchen counter at exactly 11:47 p.m., and Naomi Patterson's life changed forever. She had been loading the dishwasher when Gabriel's phone lit up with yet another message notification. Her husband of 15 years had been in the shower for the past 20 minutes, and the constant buzzing had been going on for weeks now. Always late at night. Always when he thought she wasn't paying attention. "Baby, I can't wait to feel you again tomorrow. The hotel room is booked for our usual time. I love you so much more than she could ever love you." The words burned into her eyes like acid. Naomi's hands trembled as she picked up the device, her wedding ring catching the kitchen light. She scrolled up through the message thread, each text message a dagger to her heart. "She doesn't touch you the way I do. I hate that you have to go home to her every night. When are you going to leave her? You promised me by Christmas. I bought the lingerie you like. Can't wait to show you." The messages went back months. Hundreds of them. Photos that made her stomach turn. Videos that confirmed her worst fears. All from someone named Stephanie, Gabriel's secretary at his law firm. Naomi sank onto the kitchen stool, her legs giving out beneath her. 15 years of marriage. 15 years of supporting his career, hosting his work parties, being the perfect wife while he built his practice. 15 years of trying to have children that never came, of believing him when he said it didn't matter that they had each other. The shower was still running upstairs. Steam probably fogging up their master bathroom mirror. The same mirror where she still got ready every morning, believing she was loved, believing her marriage was solid even when Gabriel grew distant over the past year. She kept scrolling. The affair had been going on for 8 months. 8 months of lies every single day. 8 months of him coming home late, claiming he was working on important cases. 8 months of her cooking his favorite meals and asking about his day while he was planning his next hotel meetup with a woman 10 years younger. Her phone was in her hand before she realized it. She started taking pictures of every message, every photo, every piece of evidence. Her fingers moved automatically while her mind struggled to process the betrayal. This wasn't some fantasy or mistake. This was real. This was her husband telling another woman he loved her. This was Gabriel promising to leave his wife. The shower shut off. Naomi's heart pounded so hard she could hear it in her ears. She quickly placed his phone back exactly where it had been and stood at the sink, gripping the edge so tightly her knuckles went white. The evidence was now safely stored in her phone, but she felt anything but safe. Footsteps on the stairs. Gabriel humming softly, something he used to do when they were happy. Now she realized he was probably humming because he was thinking about Stephanie. "Hey babe," Gabriel called out as he entered the kitchen, his hair still damp, wearing the navy silk pajamas she had bought him for their anniversary. "You're up late." Naomi turned around slowly. Her husband looked exactly the same as he had that morning, tall, handsome, with the kind of smile that had made her fall in love with him in college. But now she saw something different. The way he wouldn't quite meet her eyes. The way he immediately went for his phone. "Just cleaning up," she managed to say, her voice surprisingly steady. Gabriel picked up his phone and she watched his face carefully. No change in expression as he saw the notifications. He was used to getting late-night messages from his lover. This was routine for him. "I have an early meeting tomorrow," he said, not looking at her. "The Morrison case is heating up." Another lie. She knew now that his early meetings were probably breakfast dates with Stephanie. His late nights were hotel rooms. His work trips were romantic getaways. "How's the case going?" Naomi asked, testing him. Good. Complex stuff. You wouldn't understand the details." He waved dismissively and headed toward the stairs. "I'm exhausted. Coming to bed." Naomi stared at his back as he walked away. The casual dismissal. The assumption that she wouldn't understand his work she had supported and encouraged for 15 years. Work that had paid for this house, this life, everything they had built together. "I'll be up in a minute," she said. But she wouldn't be sleeping tonight. She would be planning. She would be thinking. She would be figuring out how to handle the fact that her marriage was already over, and Gabriel just hadn't bothered to tell her yet. The phone buzzed again in his hand as he reached the stairs. "See you tomorrow, my love. Sweet dreams." Naomi saw the message from across the room. Gabriel smiled as he read it. That was the moment she knew with absolute certainty that her husband was not just having an affair. He was in love with someone else. And she was nothing more than an obstacle in his way. Gabriel came downstairs the next morning whistling. He looked refreshed, energetic, like a man with something to look forward to. Naomi had been sitting at the kitchen table since 5 a.m., her laptop open, her lawyer's business card in her hand. She had spent the entire night taking screenshots, organizing evidence and researching divorce attorneys. By dawn, she had 3 appointments scheduled for the week and a clear understanding of her legal rights. "Morning, beautiful," Gabriel said automatically, kissing the top of her head as he reached for his coffee mug. The same routine they had followed for years, except now it felt like a performance. "Gabriel, we need to talk." Something in her tone made him pause. He turned around, coffee mug halfway to his lips, and really looked at her for the first time in months. "What's wrong? You look terrible. Didn't you sleep?" "I know about Stephanie." The mug slipped from his hands and shattered against the kitchen floor. Coffee splashed everywhere, staining the white cabinets and spreading across the tile. Gabriel's face went completely white. "Naomi, I can explain." "No." She stood up, surprised by how calm her voice sounded. "You can't explain 8 months of lying to me. You can't explain telling another woman you love her. You can't explain promising to leave me by Christmas." Gabriel's mouth opened and closed like a fish. She watched him struggle to find words, to find some excuse that would make this okay. But there wasn't one. "I saw everything, Gabriel. Every message. Every photo. Every plan you made with her." He ran his hands through his hair, the same gesture he made when he was losing a case in court. "Naomi, please. It's not what you think. It's complicated. It's really not complicated." She picked up her phone and showed him one of the screenshots. "You told her you loved her more than I could ever love you. You told her I didn't understand you. You booked hotel rooms. You sent her photos I won't even repeat." Gabriel sank into a chair, his head in his hands. For a moment, Naomi almost felt sorry for him. Almost. Then she remembered the months of lies, the nights she had waited up for him, worried about his long hours at work. "How long have you been unhappy?" she asked quietly. He looked up at her, his eyes red. "Naomi, I never meant for this to happen. Stephanie, she gets me. She understands my work, my dreams. We connect in a way that we don't." Naomi finished his sentence. "I understand. You fell in love with someone else." Gabriel's shoulders sagged. "Yes." The word hung in the air between them. After 15 years of marriage, it came down to that single word. "Yes." "Do you want a divorce?" Naomi asked. Gabriel looked shocked that she was being so direct. She could see him calculating, trying to figure out how to handle this conversation. The lawyer in him was probably thinking about assets, alimony, how to minimize damage. "I think," he said slowly, "maybe we should consider it. We've grown apart, Naomi. We want different things." "When did we grow apart?" "When you started sleeping with your secretary?" "That's not fair. Our problems started long before Stephanie." Naomi stared at him. "What problems?" "I thought we were happy. I thought we were trying to have a baby. I thought we were building a life together." "We were trying too hard," Gabriel said. "Everything felt forced. The baby thing, our conversations, even our intimacy. With Stephanie, everything is natural." The cruelty of his words hit her like a physical blow. Their struggles with fertility weren't romantic enough for him. Her attempts to connect with him were trying too hard. She was too much effort compared to the excitement of a new affair. "I want you to move out," Naomi said quietly. "Naomi, let's not be hasty. We can work out the details carefully. I don't want this to get ugly." "It's already ugly, Gabriel. You made it ugly when you decided to have an affair instead of talking to me about your feelings." He stood up and tried to move closer to her, but she stepped back. "We can be adults about this. Split everything fairly. I know you'll want to keep the house. I can't afford this house without your income. You know that." Gabriel looked uncomfortable. "Well, we'll figure something out. I'm sure Stephanie and I can help you transition." "Don't." Naomi's voice was sharp. "Don't you dare suggest that your mistress is going to help me with anything. Don't pretend this is going to be some friendly arrangement where we all get along. She's not my mistress, Naomi. I love her. You're still married to me." Gabriel ran his hands through his hair again. "I know this is hard to understand, but Stephanie makes me happy in a way I haven't felt in years. She believes in me. She supports my dreams. I supported your dreams for 15 years. I worked 2 jobs to put you through law school. I gave up my career to manage your household and host your clients. I believed in you when nobody else did. That was different. That was obligation. With Stephanie, it's pure love. Pure love." Naomi almost laughed. "Pure love built on deception and betrayal. Pure love that required destroying someone else's life." "I have an appointment with a lawyer on Monday," she said. "I suggest you find one too." Gabriel's eyes widened. "Already? Naomi, don't you think we should try counseling first? Maybe we can work through this." "Work through what?" You just told me you love someone else. You just called 15 years of marriage an obligation. What exactly would we work through? I'm just saying we don't have to be enemies. Naomi looked at her husband, her soon-to-be ex-husband, and felt a strange sense of clarity. He wanted to have his cake and eat it too. He wanted to leave her for Stephanie but have Naomi be understanding about it. He wanted to blow up their life but not face any consequences. We're not enemies, Gabriel. We're strangers. Apparently we have been for a long time, and I just didn't know it. She walked past him toward the stairs, stepping carefully around the broken coffee mug. Naomi, wait. Where are you going? To pack your things. I want you out by tonight. Tonight? That's not reasonable. I need time to find a place. Stay with Stephanie. I'm sure she'll be thrilled to finally have you all to herself. Gabriel followed her upstairs, his voice getting more desperate. Naomi, please. We can do this civilly. We don't have to hurt each other. She turned around at the top of the stairs. You already hurt me, Gabriel. The damage is done. Now I'm just cleaning up the mess. And that's exactly what she did. She packed his clothes methodically, his toiletries, his books, everything that belonged to him. Gabriel hovered around her, trying to explain himself, trying to make her understand his feelings for Stephanie. But Naomi wasn't listening anymore. She was already moving forward, already planning her new life. The life where she wouldn't be married to a man who called their love an obligation. By 6 o'clock that evening, Gabriel's suitcases were by the front door. By 7 o'clock he was gone. By 8 o'clock, Naomi was sitting alone in the house they had shared for 10 years, finally allowing herself to cry. 6 months later, Naomi stood in the tiny kitchen of her one-bedroom apartment, making coffee in a pot that had seen better days. The divorce had been finalized 3 weeks ago. Gabriel got to keep most of their assets since he had been the primary earner, but Naomi had insisted on a clean break. No alimony, no ongoing financial ties. She wanted nothing from him that would require continued contact. The apartment was a far cry from their suburban home, but it was hers. Every piece of furniture, every picture on the wall, every book on the shelf, everything reflected her taste, her choices. For the first time in 15 years, she didn't have to consider anyone else's preferences. Her phone buzzed. A text from her sister Rachel. How's therapy going? Naomi smiled as she typed back. Good. Dr. Williams says I'm making progress. That was an understatement. 6 months of therapy had been like emerging from a fog she didn't even know she was living in. Dr. Williams had helped her understand how she had lost herself in her marriage, how she had become so focused on being the perfect wife that she had forgotten who Naomi actually was. What do you want? Dr. Williams had asked during their first session. The question had stumped her completely. For 15 years, what she wanted had been secondary to what Gabriel needed, what their marriage required, what would make them look successful to the outside world. Now she was slowly figuring it out. She wanted to go back to school and finish her master's degree in art history. She wanted to travel alone. She wanted to read books Gabriel had dismissed as frivolous. She wanted to eat dinner at 6 instead of waiting until 8 for Gabriel to come home. She wanted to paint again, something she had given up because Gabriel thought it was a waste of time. The coffee was ready. Naomi poured herself a cup and sat at her small table, looking out at the city view from her third-floor window. It wasn't much, but it was peaceful. Her laptop was open to an email from the admissions office at the local university. They were accepting her application for the spring semester. At 37, she would be going back to school to finish the degree she had abandoned to support Gabriel's career. The irony wasn't lost on her. Gabriel had always said she wouldn't understand the complexities of his work. Now she was preparing to study something he had never bothered to learn about or appreciate. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Hello? Naomi? This is Harrison Patterson. Naomi's grip tightened on the phone. Gabriel's father. She hadn't spoken to him since the divorce was finalized. Harrison had always been kind to her, but she assumed family loyalty would put him firmly on Gabriel's side. Mr. Patterson. How are you? I'm well, thank you. And please call me Harrison. I was wondering if we could meet for coffee sometime. There are some things I'd like to discuss with you. Naomi's stomach clenched. If this is about Gabriel. It's not about Gabriel. Well, not directly. It's about you. About how you're doing. This was unexpected. I'm doing fine, thank you. I'm sure you are. You're a strong woman. But I'd still like to see you if you're willing. I know my son hurt you badly, and I want you to know that not everyone in the family supported his choices. Naomi was quiet for a moment. She had always liked Harrison. He was nothing like Gabriel, warm where his son was calculating, thoughtful where Gabriel was impulsive. Gabriel's mother had passed away when he was young, and Harrison had raised him mostly alone while building his real estate empire. "Where would you like to meet?" she asked. "There's a coffee shop downtown. Brew and Books. Do you know it?" Naomi smiled. "I practically live there now. It's 2 blocks from my apartment." "Perfect. Tomorrow at 2. I'll be there." After they hung up, Naomi stared at her phone. She couldn't imagine what Harrison wanted to discuss, but she was curious. Gabriel rarely talked about his father except to complain about Harrison's old-fashioned ideas about marriage and commitment. The next day, Naomi arrived at Brew and Books 15 minutes early. It had become her favorite place to study and read, a cozy spot with mismatched furniture and walls lined with books. She ordered her usual latte and found a quiet table in the back. Harrison arrived exactly at 2. Even at 68, he was still an imposing figure, tall like Gabriel, but with silver hair and kind eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses. He moved with the confidence of a man who had built an empire from nothing. "Naomi." He smiled warmly as he approached her table. "You look wonderful." "Thank you. You look well too." Harrison ordered a black coffee and sat across from her. "I want to start by apologizing for my son's behavior. What he did to you was inexcusable." Naomi was surprised by his directness. "You don't need to apologize for Gabriel's choices." "Perhaps not, but I feel responsible somehow. I raised him to be better than that." "You can't control what your adult children do." Harrison stirred his coffee thoughtfully. "No, but I can control how I respond to it. I want you to know that I told Gabriel exactly what I thought of his affair and his treatment of you." "How did that go over?" "About as well as you'd expect. He accused me of not understanding modern relationships. Said I was too old-fashioned to appreciate the complexity of his feelings." Naomi almost laughed. "That sounds like Gabriel. Everything is always complex when it benefits him." "Indeed." Harrison's eyes crinkled with what might have been amusement. "He also said you wouldn't want anything to do with the family after the divorce." "He was probably right about that. Were you? Do you want nothing to do with us?" Naomi considered the question. "I never had a problem with you, Harrison. You were always kind to me. But divorce is messy, and family loyalties usually run toward blood relatives." "Not always." Harrison leaned forward slightly. "I've known you for 15 years, Naomi. I watched you support my son through law school, through the early years of his practice, through everything. I watched you handle his moods and his ambitions with grace. I watched you try to make him happy even when he didn't appreciate your efforts." "That's very kind of you to say." "It's not kindness. It's the truth. And the truth is that Gabriel threw away the best thing in his life for a fantasy." Naomi felt her eyes getting watery. "Harrison, you don't have to. I also want you to know that his relationship with Stephanie is already falling apart." This caught Naomi's attention. "What do you mean?" "Apparently, being the other woman was more exciting than being the actual woman. Once Gabriel left you and moved in with her, the thrill wore off. They've been fighting constantly. She's demanding he propose, he's dragging his feet. She wants him to buy her a house, he's realizing how expensive divorce and 2 households can be." Naomi felt a complex mix of emotions. Part of her was glad the affair wasn't the perfect love story Gabriel had convinced himself it was. But mostly she felt nothing. Their problems weren't her problems anymore. "I'm sorry to hear Gabriel is struggling," she said carefully. "Are you?" Naomi met Harrison's eyes. "No, not really. I'm sorry to hear it because I'm not a cruel person, but his happiness isn't my responsibility anymore." Harrison smiled. "Good. I was hoping you'd say that." "Why?" "Because it means you're moving on. It means you're not sitting around hoping he'll come back. He won't come back. And even if he wanted to, I wouldn't take him." "I'm very glad to hear that." Harrison paused. "Naomi, I have a proposition for you." "What kind of proposition?" "I've been thinking about expanding my art collection. I have several properties that could use some curation, some professional guidance. I know you studied art history in college, and I remember you mentioning you wanted to go back to school." Naomi's heart started beating faster. "Are you offering me a job?" "I'm offering you a consulting position. Flexible hours, good pay, interesting work. Something that would complement your studies and give you experience in the field you're passionate about." "Harrison, I can't accept charity." "It's not charity. It's business. I need someone with your eye and your education. The fact that you happen to be my former daughter-in-law is coincidental." Naomi stared at him. "What would Gabriel think about this?" "I don't particularly care what Gabriel thinks. Do you?" For the first time in months, Naomi felt a spark of excitement about the future. A real job in her field. A chance to use her education and her passion. A reason to get up in the morning that had nothing to do with her failed marriage. When would I start? She asked. Harrison's smile was radiant. How about Monday? 3 weeks into her new job with Harrison, Naomi was beginning to feel like herself again. Working with Art, researching pieces for his collection, visiting galleries and auction houses, it was everything she had dreamed of doing before Gabriel convinced her that supporting his career was more practical. Harrison was the ideal boss. He gave her complete creative freedom, respected her expertise, and paid her more than she had ever imagined earning. More importantly, he treated her like an intelligent professional, not like a delicate ex-wife who needed to be handled carefully. On this particular Tuesday morning, Naomi was sitting in Brew and Books again, her laptop open to auction catalogs, when someone slid into the seat across from her. This seat taken? She looked up to see Harrison holding 2 coffee cups, smiling at her with that warm expression that was becoming familiar. Harrison, what are you doing here? She closed her laptop, suddenly self-conscious about working in a coffee shop instead of a proper office. I was in the neighborhood and thought I'd see how my best consultant was doing. He handed her one of the cups. Vanilla latte, right? How did you know that's my order? I pay attention. Harrison settled into his chair, looking completely at ease in the casual coffee shop setting despite his expensive suit. How's the research going for the downtown gallery? Really well. I found 3 pieces that would work perfectly for the space. There's a local artist, Patricia Morrison, whose work would complement the architecture beautifully. Tell me about her. As Naomi described Patricia's paintings, she noticed how intently Harrison listened. Gabriel used to tune out whenever she talked about art, but Harrison asked thoughtful questions and seemed genuinely interested in her opinions. You're very passionate about this, he observed when she finished. I am. I forgot how much I loved it until I started working with you. What made you stop? Naomi hesitated. She didn't want to make this about Gabriel, but Harrison's question deserved an honest answer. Gabriel thought it was impractical. He said I needed to focus on supporting his career instead of pursuing hobbies that wouldn't make money. Harrison's expression darkened slightly. Art isn't a hobby when it's your passion and you have the education to back it up. Try telling that to an ambitious young lawyer who thinks anything that doesn't directly benefit his career is a waste of time. I did try telling him that, actually. Many times over the years. Naomi looked at Harrison with surprise. You did. Of course. I watched you give up more and more of yourself to support his dreams. I watched him dismiss your interests and your intelligence. I tried to talk to him about it, but Gabriel has always believed he knows better than everyone else. Why didn't you ever say anything to me? Harrison stirred his coffee thoughtfully. It wasn't my place. You were married to my son, not to me. I couldn't interfere in your marriage even when I could see it was making you unhappy. I didn't think I was unhappy. Weren't you? Naomi considered this. I thought I was being a good wife. I thought supporting Gabriel was what marriage meant. Supporting your spouse is part of marriage. Disappearing into their shadow is not. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Around them, the coffee shop hummed with quiet conversation and the sound of espresso machines. Harrison, can I ask you something personal? Of course. How did you know? About your marriage, I mean. How did you know what it was supposed to look like? Harrison's face softened. Gabriel's mother, Patricia, was the strongest woman I ever knew. She supported my dreams absolutely, but she never gave up her own. She was a teacher and she loved it. Even when I became successful enough that she didn't need to work, she kept teaching because it fed her soul. That's beautiful. She used to say that a good marriage makes both people bigger, not smaller. When I watched you with Gabriel, I could see you getting smaller year by year. The observation stung because it was so accurate. I didn't know how to be anything else. You're learning now. Naomi smiled. I am. Thanks to you. Thanks to yourself. I just gave you an opportunity. You're the one doing the work. Harrison's phone buzzed and he glanced at it with annoyance. I'm sorry, but I have to take this call. Contractors. Of course. I should get back to work anyway. Naomi, before I go, would you like to have dinner sometime? Not work-related. Just 2 people who enjoy each other's company. The invitation caught her completely off guard. Dinner? Nothing inappropriate. Just dinner. I enjoy talking with you and I think you might enjoy the company too. Naomi studied Harrison's face. There was nothing predatory or uncomfortable about his invitation. He seemed genuinely interested in spending time with her as a person. Not as his former daughter-in-law or even as his employee. I'd like that, she said. Excellent. Saturday night? I know a wonderful Italian place that's quiet enough for actual conversation. Saturday sounds perfect. After Harrison left, Naomi sat staring at her coffee cup. Dinner with Gabriel's father. Felt strange but not wrong. Harrison was a good man who had been kind to her during the worst period of her life. There was nothing inappropriate about two adults having dinner together. Still, she could imagine Gabriel's reaction if he found out. The thought made her smile slightly. Gabriel had given up any right to have opinions about her social life when he chose to have an affair. Her phone buzzed. A text from Rachel, "How's the new job going?" "Really well. Harrison is a great boss." That's Gabriel's dad, right? Isn't that weird? Not as weird as I thought it would be. He's nothing like Gabriel. In what way? Naomi thought about how to explain it. He listens when I talk. He respects my opinions. He treats me like an intelligent adult. Basic human decency shouldn't be surprising, but I guess it is when you've been married to Gabriel for 15 years. Rachel was right. The fact that Harrison's kindness and respect felt special said more about Gabriel's treatment of her than she wanted to acknowledge. But that was behind her now. She was building a new life, rediscovering her passions, planning for her future. And if that new life included friendship with a man who happened to be her ex-husband's father, well, that was her choice to make. Saturday couldn't come fast enough. Saturday evening arrived with unexpected nervousness. Naomi stood in front of her small closet, realizing she didn't own anything appropriate for dinner at an upscale Italian restaurant. Her wardrobe had been carefully curated for Gabriel's work events, conservative, understated, designed to make her blend into the background rather than stand out. She finally settled on a simple black dress she had bought for the divorce proceedings, pairing it with her grandmother's pearl earrings. Looking in the mirror, she felt like she was preparing for a date, which was ridiculous. This was dinner with Harrison, her boss, her ex-father-in-law. A friendly meal between two adults. So why was her heart racing? Harrison picked her up at 7, driving a classic Mercedes that somehow suited him perfectly. He looked distinguished in a dark blue suit, nothing flashy or showy, just elegantly understated. "You look lovely," he said as he held the car door open for her. "Thank you. This feels very fancy for me these days." "You deserve fancy things, Naomi. You deserve to be treated well." The restaurant was exactly as Harrison had described, intimate, sophisticated, with soft lighting and tables spaced far enough apart for private conversation. The maitre d' greeted Harrison by name and led them to a corner table with a perfect view of the city lights. "You come here often?" Naomi asked as she settled into her chair. "Patricia and I used to come here for special occasions. It holds good memories." "Do you still miss her?" Harrison considered the question while the waiter poured their wine. "Every day. But missing someone and being unable to move forward are different things. Patricia wouldn't want me to stop living because she couldn't be here with me." "How long has it been?" 12 years. Gabriel was 25 when she passed. Old enough to be on his own, but young enough to still need a mother's guidance. "Is that why he—" Naomi stopped herself. "Why he what?" "I was going to say, is that why he has trouble with commitment? But that's not fair. Plenty of people lose parents and don't become serial cheaters." Harrison smiled sadly. "No, Gabriel's problems with commitment stem from Gabriel's problems with empathy. He's always believed that his feelings matter more than anyone else's. You're very hard on your son." "I'm honest about my son. There's a difference." The food arrived, perfectly prepared pasta that somehow tasted even better because of the company. Naomi found herself relaxing as the evening progressed. Harrison was an excellent conversationalist, asking about her classes, her future plans, her thoughts on the art pieces they had been researching together. "What's your favorite period?" he asked as they shared tiramisu for dessert. "Impressionism, definitely. There's something about the way they captured light and feeling rather than just exact representation. It feels more honest somehow." "Honest how?" "Like they were painting what they felt about a moment, not just what they saw. The emotion behind the image." Harrison nodded thoughtfully. "That's probably why you're so good at selecting pieces for my properties. You understand the emotional impact of art, not just the technical aspects. Gabriel always said I was too emotional about everything." "Gabriel is an idiot." The blunt statement made Naomi laugh out loud. "Harrison." "What?" "Yes. Any man who would describe his wife as too emotional doesn't understand the first thing about what makes a woman remarkable." "Is that what made Patricia remarkable?" "Her emotions. Among other things. She felt everything deeply: joy, sadness, anger, love. It made her passionate about teaching, passionate about our marriage, passionate about raising Gabriel. She never apologized for feeling things strongly. I spent years trying to feel things less strongly. Gabriel said it made me difficult to live with. Harrison's expression grew dark. Gabriel has spent his entire adult life avoiding difficult emotions. When his mother died, instead of grieving properly, he threw himself into law school. When you had fertility struggles, instead of processing that loss with you, he distanced himself. When your marriage hit rough patches, instead of working through them, he found someone new and exciting. You seem to have given this a lot of thought.
I have.
I've watched my son hurt people I care about, and I felt powerless to stop it. People you care about? Harrison met her eyes across the table.
You, Naomi. I care about you.
I always have. The words hung in the air between them. Naomi felt something shift in her chest, a warmth that had nothing to do with the wine.
Harrison.
I know this is complicated. I know the situation is unusual. But I want you to know that my feelings about you have nothing to do with Gabriel. You're a remarkable woman who deserves to be appreciated for who you are.
What are you saying?
I'm saying that somewhere along the way I stopped thinking of you as my former daughter-in-law and started thinking of you as someone I genuinely enjoy spending time with. Someone I look forward to seeing. Someone who makes me laugh and challenges me to think differently. Naomi's heart was pounding again, but this time it wasn't nervousness. It was possibility. I enjoy spending time with you too, she said quietly. Would you like to do this again?
Dinner, I mean.
Not as boss and employee, not as former family members, but as Naomi and Harrison.
Yes,
she said without hesitation. I would like that very much. Harrison smiled, and for the first time since her divorce, Naomi felt genuinely excited about the future. Not just about going back to school or building her career, but about the possibility of connection with someone who saw her clearly and valued what he saw. As Harrison drove her home, she thought about how different this felt from her marriage. Gabriel had always made her feel like she was too much, too emotional, too needy, too interested in things he considered unimportant. Harrison made her feel like she was exactly enough. Thank you for tonight, she said as they pulled up to her apartment building. Thank you for saying yes. Harrison walked her to her door, a perfect gentleman, but as she unlocked her apartment, he touched her hand gently. Naomi, I want you to know that whatever this becomes, there's no pressure. I'm not going anywhere, and neither is your job. We can take this as slowly as you need. What about Gabriel? What about family complications? Gabriel made his choices. Now I'm making mine. That night, Naomi lay in bed thinking about the evening. About Harrison's kindness, his respect for her intelligence, his appreciation for her emotions. About the way he looked at her like she was valuable, interesting, worth listening to. For the first time in years, she fell asleep smiling. Over the next month, dinner with Harrison became a weekly tradition. Every Saturday he would take her somewhere new, a cozy French bistro, a rooftop restaurant with stunning city views, a hidden gem that served the best seafood in town. Their conversations grew deeper, more personal, more intimate. Naomi found herself looking forward to these evenings all week. Harrison was nothing like any man she had ever dated. At 68, he possessed a confidence and self-assurance that came from decades of life experience. He had built a business empire, raised a son, loved and lost a wife, and emerged from all of it with wisdom and kindness intact. More importantly, he seemed genuinely fascinated by her thoughts and opinions. When she talked about her art history classes, he listened with the same intensity he probably brought to million-dollar business deals. When she mentioned a book she was reading, he would read it too so they could discuss it. When she expressed doubts about her future plans, he encouraged her dreams without trying to direct them. I think I want to work in museum curation eventually, she told him one Saturday evening as they walked through the sculpture garden after dinner. What's stopping you? Practical things. Money, experience, the fact that I'm starting over at 37. Harrison stopped walking and turned to face her. Naomi, do you know how many people would kill for your combination of education, taste, and work ethic? I don't have that much experience. You have more experience than you think. You've been curating my collection for weeks, and you have an exceptional eye. You've been managing complex projects and budgets. You've been researching and presenting findings. That's exactly what museum curators do. You really think I could do it? I think you could do anything you set your mind to. The confidence in his voice made her chest tight with emotion. Gabriel had never spoken to her like that, with such unwavering belief in her abilities. They had reached a bench overlooking the city skyline. Harrison gestured for her to sit, then settled beside her, close enough that she could smell his cologne, something expensive and subtle. "Can I tell you something?" she said.
Always.
"These past few weeks with you have been the happiest I've felt in years. Maybe ever." Harrison turned to look at her, his expression serious.
Naomi. I know it's complicated. I know people would think it's strange.
But I can't pretend anymore that this is just friendship.
What is it then?
She took a deep breath, gathering courage. "I think I'm falling in love with you." The words hung in the air between them. Harrison was quiet for so long that Naomi began to panic. Had she misread everything? Had she imagined the connection between them? "Naomi," he said finally, "I need you to understand something. I'm 20 years older than you. I'm your former father-in-law. If we pursue this, people will talk. They'll say terrible things about both of us. Do you care what people say? Not about myself. But I care about protecting you. What if I don't need protecting? What if I'm strong enough to handle whatever people say?" Harrison studied her face in the moonlight. "Are you sure? Because once we cross this line, there's no going back. Gabriel will never forgive either of us. Society will judge us. It won't be easy. Nothing worth having is easy." Harrison smiled at that. "Who told you that?"
You did.
"Last week when we were talking about my decision to go back to school."
I suppose I did.
He reached over and took her hand, his fingers warm against hers. "Naomi, I want you to know that what I feel for you has nothing to do with revenge against Gabriel or any family drama. I care about you as an individual, completely separate from my relationship with my son. I know that. And I need you to know that I've been fighting these feelings for weeks because I was afraid of exactly this conversation." Fighting them? Trying to convince myself that I was imagining the connection between us. Trying to maintain appropriate boundaries. Failing miserably at both. Naomi felt her heart racing. "So you feel it too?" "I've felt it since that first day in the coffee shop when you talked about Patricia Morrison's paintings with such passion. I realized I could listen to you talk about art for hours. Then I realized I could listen to you talk about anything for hours."
Harrison.
"I'm falling in love with you too, Naomi. Against my better judgment, against all logic, against everything that says this is a terrible idea." Before she could respond, he leaned over and kissed her. It was gentle at first, tentative, giving her the chance to pull away. But Naomi didn't want to pull away. She kissed him back, her hands coming up to rest against his chest. When they finally broke apart, both of them were breathing hard.
"That was..."
Naomi started. "Probably a mistake," Harrison finished. "The best mistake I've ever made." Harrison laughed, a sound of pure joy. "What are we doing, Naomi?"
"I don't know.
But I don't want to stop."
"Neither do I."
They sat together on the bench for another hour, talking about everything and nothing, stealing kisses when the mood struck them, marveling at the unexpected turn their relationship had taken. When Harrison finally drove her home, the energy between them was electric. At her door, he kissed her again, deeper this time, with the passion of a man who had stopped fighting his feelings. "I should probably tell you," he said against her lips, "that I haven't felt this way about anyone since Patricia died. Is that scary for you?"
"Terrifying.
But also wonderful."
"Good.
I like knowing I can terrify a powerful businessman."
Harrison laughed.
"You can do much more than that. You can bring me to my knees with one smile." As Naomi got ready for bed that night, she caught herself grinning in the bathroom mirror. She was falling in love with Harrison Patterson and he was falling in love with her. It was complicated and unconventional and potentially scandalous. It was also the most right thing she had felt in years. 3 weeks after their first kiss, Naomi and Harrison had settled into a routine that felt both thrilling and natural. Harrison would pick her up after her Thursday evening art history class and they would go for late dinners. Weekends were spent visiting galleries, attending cultural events, and enjoying long conversations that sometimes lasted until dawn. Harrison was everything Gabriel had never been: attentive, respectful, genuinely interested in her thoughts and dreams. He never made her feel like she was too much or not enough. Instead, he seemed to delight in every aspect of her personality. "I have something for you," Harrison said as they sat in his study after dinner on a rainy Saturday evening. Naomi looked up from the art catalog she had been reviewing. Harrison's study was her favorite room in his house: floor-to-ceiling bookshelves, comfortable leather chairs, and carefully selected artwork that created an atmosphere of scholarly luxury. "What is it?" Harrison handed her an envelope. Inside was a check made out to her for an amount that made her gasp. "Harrison, what is this for?" "Your tuition for next semester. And the semester after that. And however many semesters it takes for you to finish your master's degree."
I can't accept this. Why not? Because it's too much. Because it feels like charity.
Because you're not used to someone investing in your dreams? Naomi stared at the check. It represented more than money, it represented belief in her future, support for her goals, the kind of partnership she had always wanted but never experienced. Gabriel always said graduate school was a waste of money, she said quietly. Gabriel was wrong about a lot of things. This is incredibly generous, but nothing. Naomi, I have more money than I could spend in 3 lifetimes. Using some of it to help someone I care about achieve their dreams is not charity. It's investment in a future I want to be part of. A future you want to be part of? Harrison set down his wine glass and moved to the couch where she was sitting.
I love you, Naomi.
I know it's soon, I know the circumstances are unusual, but I love you. I want to build a life with you.
You love me? Completely. Hopelessly.
In a way that makes me feel 20 years younger and twice as alive. Naomi felt tears prick her eyes.
I love you too.
Then let me do this for you. Let me support your dreams the way no one ever has before. She looked at the check again, then at Harrison's earnest face. You really think I can do this? Finish school, build a career in the art world?
I don't think you can do it. I know you can.
I've watched you work these past few months. You have exceptional taste, keen intelligence, and a work ethic that puts people half your age to shame. What will people think? About us, about this?
Honestly?
Some people will think I'm an old fool having a midlife crisis. Some will think you're a gold digger who targeted her ex-husband's father. Some will think we're both crazy.
And the rest?
The rest will see what I see: 2 adults who found each other and decided to build something beautiful together. Naomi folded the check carefully and set it aside. Harrison, I need you to know that my feelings for you have nothing to do with your money or your generosity.
I know that. Do you?
Because sometimes I worry that you think I'm with you because you're rescuing me from my post-divorce struggles. Harrison cupped her face in his hands. Naomi, you were rescuing yourself long before I came along. You left Gabriel, filed for divorce, got your own apartment, started building a new life. I just happened to be lucky enough to be there when you were ready for something new. I was so lost when Gabriel left.
You thought you were lost.
Actually, you were finding yourself. How do you always know exactly what to say? 68 years of practice. Naomi laughed and kissed him. I love you, old man.
Old man?
I'll show you, old man. Harrison pulled her closer, his kisses becoming more urgent. Their physical relationship had been developing slowly, carefully, with the patience of 2 people who understood the value of anticipation. But tonight felt different. Tonight felt like a turning point. Naomi, Harrison murmured against her neck, are you sure about this?
About us?
I've never been more sure of anything in my life. What happened next was tender and passionate and completely different from anything Naomi had experienced in her marriage. Harrison treated her body like something precious, taking time to explore and appreciate every inch of her. He made her feel beautiful, desired, cherished. Afterward, they lay tangled together on the couch, watching the rain streak down the windows. I should probably go home, Naomi said without making any move to get up.
Should you? I have class in the morning. Early class.
You could go to class from here. I don't have any clothes here. I could buy you clothes. Naomi lifted her head to look at him. Harrison Patterson, are you trying to convince me to move in with you?
Maybe.
How am I doing?
Terribly.
You'll have to try much harder than offering to buy me a wardrobe. What if I offered you your own wing of the house? Complete creative control over the art collection? A library card to my personal collection? A library card to your personal collection? First edition Hemingway. Signed Virginia Woolf. Original manuscripts from 3 Nobel Prize winners. You're not playing fair. I'm playing to win. Naomi settled back against his chest. What would Gabriel think if he knew about this?
Honestly?
I think Gabriel would be shocked that his ex-wife and his father have better chemistry than he ever had with anyone. That's a terrible thing to say. It's the truth. Gabriel has never understood that real intimacy requires emotional vulnerability. He's always kept pieces of himself locked away.
And you don't. Not with you.
With you, I'm completely open. As they talked into the early hours of the morning, Naomi realized that Harrison was right. She had never experienced this level of emotional intimacy with Gabriel. Even after 15 years of marriage, she had never felt truly known by her husband. With Harrison, she felt seen, understood, appreciated for exactly who she was. It was terrifying and wonderful and absolutely worth whatever complications lay ahead. Gabriel Patterson was having the worst month of his life. His relationship with Stephanie had been deteriorating steadily since he moved in with her. The woman who had seemed so understanding and supportive during their affair had become demanding and critical once she had him full-time. She complained about his work habits, his friends, his reluctance to marry her immediately. She wanted expensive vacations and designer clothes, apparently having assumed that being with a lawyer meant unlimited access to luxury. The reality of Gabriel's post-divorce finances, alimony, 2 households, legal fees, had come as an unpleasant shock to both of them. Tonight, Stephanie was at her book club, giving Gabriel a rare evening of peace. He decided to take himself out for dinner at Romano's, the upscale Italian restaurant where he used to take Naomi for special occasions. He was scrolling through his phone, trying to ignore the empty chair across from him, when he saw them. Naomi and his father, sitting at a corner table, holding hands across the white tablecloth. Gabriel's wine glass slipped from his fingers, sending red wine cascading across his lap. The crash drew attention from nearby tables, but Gabriel barely noticed. He was staring at the impossible scene playing out across the restaurant. His ex-wife and his father were on a date. An intimate, romantic date. As Gabriel watched in shock, Harrison leaned across the table and kissed Naomi softly. She smiled at him with an expression Gabriel had never seen on her face during their marriage, pure joy. "Sir, are you all right?" The waiter had appeared with towels and concern. "I'm fine," Gabriel managed, though he was anything but fine. "Just clumsy." He threw money on the table and practically ran from the restaurant, his heart pounding with a mixture of rage and disbelief. His father and Naomi. His father and his ex-wife. How long had this been going on? How had he not known? Gabriel sat in his car outside the restaurant for 20 minutes, watching through the window as they enjoyed what was clearly a romantic dinner. When they finally left, Harrison's hand rested possessively on Naomi's lower back, and she leaned into him with familiar comfort. They had been together for a while. This wasn't some chance encounter or casual dinner. This was a relationship. Gabriel drove home in a fury, bursting through the front door of the apartment he shared with Stephanie. "You're home early," she called from the bedroom. "How was dinner?" "I need to use your computer." "What's wrong? You sound upset." Gabriel was already at Stephanie's laptop, pulling up social media, searching for any trace of his father and Naomi together. He found nothing obvious, but then again, both of them were private people who rarely posted personal information online. "Gabriel, what are you doing?" Stephanie appeared in the doorway wearing a silk robe, her book club apparently having been cancelled. "My father is dating my ex-wife." "What?" "I saw them. At Romano's. They were holding hands, kissing. This is clearly not their first date." Stephanie sank into a chair. "Are you sure?" "I have eyes, Stephanie. I know what I saw. But that's weird, right? Isn't that weird?" "It's more than weird. It's betrayal. My own father, pursuing the woman I was married to for 15 years. Technically you divorced her," Stephanie pointed out. "And you divorced her to be with me." Gabriel whirled around to face her. "That's not the point. The point is that my father has been lying to me. He's been seeing Naomi behind my back. Maybe they're just friends." "Friends don't kiss like that, Stephanie." Gabriel paced around the small apartment, his mind racing. When had this started? Had they been involved while he was still married to Naomi? Had his father been encouraging the divorce so he could pursue her himself? "I have to confront him," Gabriel said. "Maybe you should calm down first." "Calm down?" "My father is sleeping with my ex-wife and you want me to calm down." "Your ex-wife," Stephanie emphasized. "The woman you left for me. The woman you said you didn't love anymore." Gabriel stopped pacing. Stephanie was right, technically. He had chosen to leave Naomi. He had been the one having an affair. He had been the one who wanted the divorce. But somehow, seeing Naomi with his father felt like a violation of everything he understood about family loyalty and appropriate boundaries. "It's the principle of the thing," he said weakly. "What principle?" "That you can leave your wife for another woman, but she can't move on with her life." "Not with my father." "Why not?" Gabriel stared at Stephanie. "Whose side are you on?" "I'm on our side." "But Gabriel, you can't have it both ways. You can't divorce someone and then get angry when they find happiness with someone else." "Someone else, yes. My father, no." "Your father is a good man who treats people well. Maybe that's exactly what Naomi needs after being married to you." The words hung in the air like a slap. Gabriel felt something cold settle in his stomach. "What's that supposed to mean?" Stephanie sighed. "Nothing. I'm sorry. I'm just tired and this whole thing is bizarre." but Gabriel knew what she meant. Over the past few months, as their relationship had deteriorated, Stephanie had made several comments about his emotional unavailability, his tendency to dismiss other people's feelings, his assumption that his needs should always come first. Criticisms that sounded remarkably similar to complaints Naomi had made during their marriage. "I'm going to see him tomorrow," Gabriel said. "I'm going to demand an explanation. What if he tells you it's none of your business? Then I'll remind him that I'm his son and Naomi was my wife."
Was Gabriel? Was your wife?
"You gave up any claim to her when you decided you loved me more." Gabriel looked at Stephanie, really looked at her, and realized something uncomfortable. The woman he had been so certain was his soulmate, the woman he had blown up his marriage to be with, was looking at him with something very close to disgust. "Do you think I'm wrong to be upset about this?" he asked. "I think you're wrong to be surprised by this. You threw away a 15-year marriage for an affair. Did you really expect Naomi to sit around pining for you forever?" Gabriel didn't answer. The truth was, some part of him had expected exactly that. Some part of him had assumed that Naomi would always be there, always be available if he changed his mind. The idea that she had moved on, and moved on with his own father, was more devastating than he wanted to admit. The next evening, Gabriel sat in his car outside his father's mansion, working up the courage to go inside. The imposing stone house had always intimidated him as a child, and tonight it felt particularly unwelcoming. He had called ahead, demanding a meeting. Harrison had agreed calmly, which somehow made Gabriel even angrier. His father wasn't even bothering to deny the relationship or act ashamed about it. Gabriel rang the doorbell and waited. When Harrison opened the door, he looked completely at ease, dressed casually in slacks and a sweater.
"Gabriel,
come in." The formal tone was not encouraging. Gabriel followed his father into the study, the same room where Harrison had given him countless lectures about responsibility and character over the years. "Would you like something to drink?" "I want an explanation." Harrison poured himself a scotch and settled into his leather chair. "An explanation of what?" "Don't play games with me, Dad. I saw you with Naomi last night at Romano's."
"I see.
"And what did you see exactly?"
You were on a date.
"You were holding hands. You kissed her."
Yes, I was. Yes, we were. Yes, I did."
Gabriel was thrown by his father's complete lack of defensiveness. "So you admit it?"
"I admit what?
"That I care about Naomi? That we enjoy each other's company? That we've developed feelings for each other?" "Yes, Gabriel, I admit all of that." "How long has this been going on?" "We've been friends for several months. The romantic aspect is more recent."
"Several months?"
"You've been seeing my ex-wife for several months and didn't think to mention it?"
Harrison took a sip of his scotch.
"Why would I mention it? Your divorce was finalized. Your relationship with Naomi was over. My personal life is not your concern. She's my ex-wife." Emphasis on ex. Gabriel paced around the room, his anger building. "This is unbelievable. My own father, going after the woman I was married to for 15 years. I didn't go after anyone, Gabriel. Naomi and I became friends. Friendship evolved into something deeper. These things happen between adults."
"Adults?"
"She's young enough to be your daughter. She's 37 years old. Hardly a child.
And you're 68.
People are going to think you're having some kind of crisis." Harrison's expression hardened slightly. "I don't particularly care what people think. I care about Naomi's happiness and my own. What about my feelings? What about family loyalty? What about them?" Gabriel stopped pacing and stared at his father. "I'm your son."
"Yes, you are."
"And as my son, I would hope you'd want me to be happy. Not with my ex-wife." "Why not?" The simple question stumped Gabriel. He searched for reasons beyond his wounded pride and sense of ownership.
"Because it's inappropriate. Because it's weird.
Because it makes family gatherings impossible. Family gatherings haven't been an issue since you chose to have an affair with your secretary instead of working on your marriage." Gabriel felt heat rise in his face. "That's different."
"How?"
"Because Stephanie and I are in love. We're building a life together. And Naomi and I aren't?" The question hung in the air. Gabriel realized he hadn't considered that his father might be serious about Naomi, might see her as more than just a rebound relationship. "Are you?" he asked quietly. "Very much so." "Dad, this is crazy. You barely know her." "I've known Naomi for 15 years, Gabriel. I've watched her support your career, handle your moods, try to make you happy even when you didn't appreciate her efforts. I probably know her better than you do." The accusation stung because it felt true. Gabriel realized he couldn't name Naomi's favorite book, her biggest fear, or what she dreamed about for her future. He had been married to her for 15 years without really knowing her. "She's not right for you," Gabriel said desperately. "Why not?" Because she's emotional. She cries at movies. She gets too attached to things. She's high maintenance." Harrison's expression grew cold. "She's passionate, empathetic, and caring. Those aren't flaws, Gabriel. They're gifts you were too selfish to appreciate." "I wasn't selfish. I supported her. I gave her a good life." "You gave her your leftover attention after everything else you considered more important. You dismissed her interests. You made her feel like loving you was her full-time job." Gabriel felt like he was being attacked from all sides. "I made mistakes, okay? But that doesn't give you the right to." "To what? To care about her? To treat her well? To give her the love and respect she deserves? To betray your own son?" Harrison stood up abruptly. "I betrayed you? You betrayed her, Gabriel. You betrayed 15 years of marriage for an affair with a woman you barely knew. You threw away the best thing in your life, and now you're angry that someone else recognizes her value? She was my wife. She was your wife, and you treated her like she was disposable. Well, congratulations. You disposed of her. Now she's with someone who appreciates what he has." Gabriel felt tears of rage and frustration building behind his eyes. If you pursue this relationship with her, I'll never forgive you." Harrison's expression softened slightly. "Gabriel, I hope that's not true. You're my son and I love you. But I won't sacrifice my happiness for your wounded pride." "It's not just pride. It's respect. It's family loyalty. Where was your family loyalty when you were betraying your wife? Where was your respect when you were lying to Naomi for months?" Gabriel had no answer for that. "Son, I understand this is difficult for you. But Naomi makes me happy in a way I haven't been since your mother died. I'm not going to give that up because it makes you uncomfortable. What if I cut you off? What if I refuse to have anything to do with you?" Harrison looked genuinely sad at the threat. "That would break my heart. But it wouldn't change my feelings for Naomi." Gabriel stared at his father, realizing he had never seen him this determined about anything except business. Harrison wasn't going to back down. This wasn't a whim or a phase. This was serious. "I can't believe you're choosing her over me." "I'm not choosing anyone over anyone. I'm choosing love over bitterness. I'm choosing happiness over guilt. I'm choosing to move forward instead of staying stuck in the past." "The past?" "My marriage to her was the past. Your marriage to her ended when you decided you loved someone else more. What Naomi and I have is about the future." Gabriel felt defeated. Nothing he said was going to change Harrison's mind. His father was in love with his ex-wife, and there was nothing he could do about it. "If you go through with this," Gabriel said as he headed for the door, "don't expect me to be part of your life anymore. Gabriel, please. Don't let this destroy our relationship. You already destroyed it when you decided to betray me." Gabriel left his father standing in the study, but as he drove away, he couldn't shake the feeling that he was the one who had destroyed everything long before tonight. 1 year later, Naomi stood in front of her bedroom mirror, adjusting the pearl necklace that had belonged to Harrison's first wife. Patricia's jewelry was an unexpected gift from Harrison, presented with the explanation that Patricia would have wanted Naomi to wear it on her wedding day. Today was the day she was marrying Harrison Patterson. The past year had been a whirlwind of challenges and joy. Gabriel had followed through on his threat to cut contact with his father, refusing to attend family events and declining all attempts at reconciliation. The media had briefly picked up the story, wealthy businessman marries son's ex-wife. But the attention had died down quickly when no one involved was willing to provide dramatic quotes or bitter accusations. Stephanie had left Gabriel 3 months after the confrontation, frustrated by his increasing bitterness and his inability to move forward. Gabriel had lost his job at the law firm after several public outbursts and missed court dates. According to mutual friends, he was working at a smaller firm now, struggling financially and emotionally. Naomi felt sorry for him but not guilty. Gabriel's problems were the result of his own choices, not her happiness. "You look absolutely radiant," Rachel said, appearing in the doorway of the bridal suite. As Naomi's maid of honor, she had been instrumental in planning the small, elegant ceremony. "I feel radiant," Naomi said, and meant it. She was finishing her master's degree with a 4.0 GPA. She had been offered a position as assistant curator at the city's most prestigious art museum, starting after her honeymoon. She was about to marry a man who loved her completely and supported her dreams unconditionally. Most importantly, she had rediscovered herself. The confident, passionate woman who had gotten lost somewhere in 15 years of trying to be the perfect wife for the wrong man.
"Are you ready?" Rachel asked.
More than ready. The ceremony was held in Harrison's garden, transformed into a fairy tale setting with white flowers and soft lighting. 50 guests, close friends and family members who supported their relationship, watched as Naomi walked down the aisle to meet the man who had changed her life. Harrison waited for her at the altar, looking distinguished in a dark gray suit, his eyes bright with love and joy. At 69 he was more handsome than ever, and the way he looked at Naomi made her feel like the most beautiful woman in the world. "Dearly beloved," the minister began, "we are gathered here today to celebrate the union of Harrison and Naomi, two people who found love when they least expected it, and who have chosen to build a future together based on mutual respect, shared values and genuine affection." As they exchanged vows, Naomi thought about the journey that had brought her to this moment. The devastation of discovering Gabriel's affair. The pain of divorce. The slow process of rebuilding her life. The unexpected friendship that had blossomed into love. "Harrison," she said when it was her turn to speak, "you taught me that love shouldn't require me to make myself smaller. You showed me that the right person will appreciate my passions, encourage my dreams, and celebrate my emotions instead of asking me to diminish them. You make me feel valued, understood, and cherished every single day." Harrison's vows were equally heartfelt. "Naomi, you brought joy back into my life when I thought I was too old for new adventures. You challenged me to see the world through different eyes. You make every day brighter just by being in it. I promise to support your dreams, respect your independence, and love you exactly as you are for the rest of my life." When the minister pronounced them husband and wife, their kiss was met with enthusiastic applause and not a few tears from the assembled guests. The reception was held in Harrison's ballroom, decorated with Naomi's favorite flowers and featuring a menu she had helped design. The couple's first dance was to "The Way You Look Tonight," and as they moved together across the dance floor, Naomi felt a profound sense of rightness about her choice. "Any regrets?" Harrison murmured in her ear as they danced. "Only that it took me so long to find you. You found me exactly when you were supposed to. Any earlier and you wouldn't have been ready for this." "What about you? Any regrets about marrying your son's ex-wife?" Harrison's expression grew serious. "I regret that Gabriel can't be happy for us. I regret that his stubbornness is costing him our relationship. But I don't regret falling in love with you for a single second. Do you think he'll ever come around?" "I hope so. But even if he doesn't, I won't regret choosing love over fear." Later that evening, as the guests were leaving and the cleanup was beginning, Naomi slipped away to the garden for a moment of quiet reflection. She was still wearing her wedding dress, but she had kicked off her shoes and was walking barefoot across the grass. "Hiding from your own reception?" Harrison appeared beside her, having loosened his tie and rolled up his sleeves. "Just taking a moment to appreciate everything." Harrison put his arm around her waist and pulled her close. "What are you appreciating?" "This life. This love. The fact that sometimes the worst thing that happens to you leads to the best thing that happens to you." "You think divorcing Gabriel was the worst thing?" "At the time, yes. It felt like my whole world was ending. I thought I had failed at the most important thing in my life. And now? Now I know that my marriage to Gabriel was practice for my marriage to you. I had to learn what love wasn't before I could recognize what love is." Harrison kissed her temple. "What is love, Mrs. Patterson?" "Love is what we have. Partnership, respect, genuine enjoyment of each other's company. Love is feeling free to be yourself and being appreciated for who you are. Love is also great sex," Harrison added with a grin. Naomi laughed. "That too." As they stood together in the moonlight, Naomi thought about Gabriel one last time. She hoped he would find his way to genuine happiness eventually. She hoped he would learn from his mistakes and become a better man for his next relationship. But his happiness was no longer her responsibility. Her responsibility now was to love and be loved by the extraordinary man standing beside her. "Ready to start our honeymoon, Mr. Patterson?" "I've been ready since the day I met you, Mrs. Patterson." Hand in hand, they walked back toward the house, toward their future, toward the kind of love story Naomi had never dared to dream was possible. Behind them, the garden glowed with fairy lights and the lingering magic of a perfect wedding day. Ahead of them stretched a lifetime of love, adventure, and the kind of happiness that comes from finding exactly the right person at exactly the right time. It had been worth the wait.